The signal pierced through the static of deep space, a desperate plea that had traveled across thousands of light-years before reaching Earth's quantum receivers. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen at her station in the Lunar Signal Analysis Center, her coffee forgotten as she stared at the wavelength patterns dancing across her holographic display. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, they'd finally found something. But this wasn't the friendly greeting they'd hoped for. This was a cry for help. The message itself was simple. They're coming. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us. What made it extraordinary was the method of transmission. The signal had been sent through what appeared to be artificially created quantum entanglement, a technology humanity had only recently begun to experiment with. Within hours, the highest levels of Earth's Unified Space Command had convened. Admiral James Rodriguez, a veteran of the Mars Wars and current head of humanity's combined space forces, studied the assembled faces on his screen, each a leader in their field, each trying to process the implications of what they'd discovered. The signal originated from the Carina Nebula, Dr. Chen explained, her hologram hovering above the conference table. But what's truly fascinating is the radiation signature. The entire region should be deadly to most forms of life as we understand it. The background radiation there is nearly 1,000 times what we experience on Earth. And yet someone's living there, Rodriguez mused, his weathered face thoughtful. Or at least they were when they sent this message. Dr. Chen nodded. The quantum signature suggests the message was sent recently, perhaps within the last few months. But there's something else. She paused, bringing up a new set of data. The signal contains encoded technical data. Whoever sent this wanted to make sure we could find them, and that we'd know what we were getting into. The technical data painted a grim picture. The sender's civilization had discovered something ancient stirring in the depths of space, something that consumed entire solar systems, breaking down matter at the atomic level. Their most powerful weapons had proven useless against it. Their fastest ships couldn't escape it. Their strongest shields offered no protection. So why send the message our way? Asked General Sarah O'Malley, her Irish accent thick with concern. What makes them think we could help? Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with scientific excitement. Because they've been watching us. The data package includes detailed observations of Earth, specifically our gravity, our atmospheric pressure, our radiation levels. To them, we're living in conditions that should be impossible. We're what they call Deathworlders. The term hung in the air. Humanity had never considered Earth particularly harsh. It was home, after all. But looking at the comparative planetary data in the signal, it became clear. What humanity considered normal would be lethal to the message's senders. Where their worlds had gravity roughly a quarter of Earth's, their atmospheres were thin enough to be considered a near vacuum by human standards, and their radiation shielding would barely stop a dental X-ray. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward, his expression intense. You're saying they reached out to us because we're tough. More than that, Dr. Chen replied. They reached out because we survive and thrive in conditions they consider lethal. Their message suggests this entity they're fighting is immune to their weapons because it exists in what they consider Deathworld conditions. Conditions we deal with every day. The implications were staggering. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't going to be a peaceful exchange of knowledge. It was going to be a desperate battle for survival. And humanity's greatest advantage would be the very planet that had shaped them. Rodriguez stood, his decision made. Dr. Chen, how quickly can we prepare a response? And more importantly, how quickly can we reach them? The quantum entanglement network they've set up is still active. We can respond immediately. As for reaching them, she consulted her data. Our new Alcubierre drives could get a fleet there in 6 months. But Admiral, the radiation levels alone are exactly why they called us. Rodriguez finished. Humanity has spent its entire existence adapting to conditions other species consider impossible. Now we're going to use that to save them. He turned to General O'Malley. Begin fleet mobilization. I want every ship we can spare ready for deep space deployment. As the orders went out, Dr. Chen found herself staring at the original message again. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. But more than that, they knew why they might have evolved so differently. Earth wasn't just their home. It was their training ground, preparing them for a moment they never knew was coming. The response they sent was simple. Message received. Help is coming. Hold on. For the first time in human history, their unique evolution might prove to be the galaxy's greatest hope. The void between stars shimmered as humanity's fleet dropped out of FTL, their massive hulls gleaming under the harsh light of the Carina Nebula. 50 ships, the pride of Earth's combined forces, each built to withstand conditions that would crush most alien vessels. At their head, the UES Prometheus carried Admiral Rodriguez and his command staff, along with Dr. Chen and her team of xenophysicists. The alien signal grew stronger as they approached its source. Through the quantum network, they'd learned their allies called themselves the Collective, a union of 17 species who had evolved in similar environments. Now, as the fleet approached their coordinates, everyone held their breath. The sight that greeted them was both magnificent and terrifying. A massive space station hung in the void, its crystalline architecture unlike anything human eyes had seen before. But surrounding it were the broken remains of what must have been thousands of ships, their strange alloys twisted and corroded by some incomprehensible force. By all known laws of physics, we shouldn't be able to survive here, one of the Collective scientists had told them during their quantum communications. Yet the human fleet's sensors showed radiation levels well within their tolerance range, though they would have been lethal to the Collective species. The docking procedure was a delicate dance of adapting incompatible technologies. The Collective had to create a special airlock that could withstand Earth-normal atmospheric pressure, which to them was crushing. When the doors finally opened, Dr. Chen led the first contact team, their steps careful in the station's minimal gravity. The Collective representatives waited beyond the airlock, tall, willowy beings with iridescent skin and multiple sets of eyes. They wore what looked like mechanical exoskeletons just to stand in the increased gravity of the human-adapted section. Their leader, Administrator Xylos, regarded the humans with a mixture of fear and hope. "You truly exist in these conditions naturally?" Tylos asked, their translator converting the musical language into English. "Our instruments suggest your internal bone density alone would kill most of our kind." Dr. Chen nodded, trying to move slowly to avoid startling their hosts. "What you consider extreme, we call home. Now show us what we're fighting." The briefing room's holographic display came to life, showing recordings of their enemy. The humans watched in silence as entire worlds were consumed by what looked like living darkness, breaking down matter at its fundamental level. The Collective had named them the Void Hunters. They exist in a state we cannot properly interact with, Xylos explained. Our weapons pass through them. Our shields mean nothing. They consume everything in their path, and we cannot stop them. But as the humans studied the data, patterns began to emerge. Dr. Chen was the first to notice it, her eyes widening as she overlaid the Void Hunter's energy signature with Earth's natural background radiation. "They're not immune to your weapons," she breathed. "They're operating on a completely different wavelength, one that matches what we consider normal background radiation on Earth. That's why nothing you've tried has worked. You're essentially trying to fight smoke with a net." Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward. "But we evolved in those conditions. Our technology is already calibrated to work in what you consider extreme radiation levels." The implications hit everyone at once. Humanity's greatest advantage wasn't just their physical resilience, it was their entire technological base. They had developed in conditions similar to their enemy, which meant their weapons and shields operated on frequencies that could actually affect the Void Hunters. "We'll need to modify our quantum torpedo designs," Lieutenant Commander Patel, the fleet's chief weapons officer, mused. If we calibrate them to resonate at Earth's background radiation frequency, it could disrupt their atomic-level manipulation, Dr. Chen finished. We might be able to not just fight them, but contain them. For the first time since the Void Hunters had appeared, hope sparked in Silos's multiple eyes. You can actually hurt them. Better than that, Rodriguez said, his voice firm. We can stop them, but we'll need your help. Your quantum technology, combined with our radiation-hardened systems, we might be able to create something entirely new. The next few weeks saw an unprecedented collaboration. Human engineers worked alongside collective scientists, combining technologies that had evolved under radically different conditions. The collective's mastery of quantum mechanics merged with humanity's robust, radiation-resistant designs. Together, they began creating weapons that could actually affect the supposedly untouchable Void Hunters. But time was running out. Long-range sensors detected the Void Hunters approaching a heavily populated system. The weapons were still untested, the theory still largely unproven. Yet, as Dr. Chen watched humans and aliens working side by side, she realized something profound. Their greatest strength wasn't just their physical adaptations or their technology. It was their ability to see solutions where others saw only impossibility. The real test was coming. The modified fleet would soon face the Void Hunters directly, and the galaxy would learn whether humanity's unique evolution would prove to be its salvation. The combined fleet hung in the dark space above Centauri Prime, one of the collective's most populous worlds. 3 billion souls waited below, watching the skies with all 4 of their eyes, praying that the strange Deathworlders and their impossible ships would prove to be their salvation. Aboard the UES Prometheus, Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical display as the first tendrils of void energy appeared at the system's edge. Multiple contacts, Lieutenant Sarah Wong announced, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. The Void Hunters are moving exactly as predicted. They're following the quantum wake we created. The plan was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy by the collective standards. They were deliberately drawing the Void Hunters to a populated system. But this time, they were ready. The combined fleet had been modified with hybrid technology that merged human radiation-hardened systems with the collective's quantum manipulation capabilities. All ships, battle formations, Rodriguez ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of 3 billion lives hanging on their success. Remember your training. These things might be ancient and powerful, but they've never faced anything like us before. The Void Hunters emerged from deep space like living shadows, their form defying conventional physics. To the collective sensors, they were almost invisible. But the human instruments, calibrated to Earth's harsh background radiation, saw them clearly, writhing masses of energy operating at frequencies that matched Earth's natural background radiation. Neuralink with collective ships established, Dr. Chen reported from her station. She had developed an interface that allowed human operators to help coordinate the collective ships whose crews couldn't survive the radiation levels needed to fight effectively. Their quantum shields are synchronizing with our radiation barriers. The first Void Hunter struck like a serpent of pure darkness, attempting to phase through a collective cruiser's hull as it had done countless times before. But this time, something different happened. The hybrid shields, resonating at Earth-normal radiation frequencies, flared brilliant blue. The Void Hunter recoiled as if struck. It worked. Chen's voice was triumphant. Their matter disruption can't penetrate the hybrid shields. Rodriguez leaned forward in his command chair. All ships, commence attack pattern Delta. Show them what humanity brings to the fight. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, their massive ships maneuvering with surprising grace in the high radiation environment. Modified quantum torpedoes launched from their tubes, their warheads containing a mixture of Earth-normal matter and quantum-entangled particles. When they detonated, they created bubbles of space that matched Earth's natural conditions, conditions that forced the Void Hunters to become solid and vulnerable. The Void Hunters responded with desperate fury. They attempted to combine their forms, creating massive energy constructs that would have overwhelmed conventional defenses. But the human fleet had trained for this, their crews accustomed to operating in conditions that other species found lethal. "Prometheus, our shields are failing." The call came from one of the collective ships. Without hesitation, Rodriguez ordered 2 human destroyers to move into position, using their more robust systems to protect their allies. "Collective vessels, fall back to secondary positions," he commanded. "Let us take the brunt of their attack. Our ships are built for this kind of punishment." The battle raged for hours, a dance of light and shadow in the void. The Void Hunters, for the first time in their ancient existence, found themselves unable to simply phase through their opponent's defenses. They were forced to fight on humanity's terms, in conditions that humans had evolved to handle. But victory wasn't without cost. 3 human ships and 5 collective vessels had been lost, their crews sacrificing themselves to protect crucial strategic positions. Yet for each loss, the combined fleet inflicted significant damage on the Void Hunters. The quantum radiation hybrid weapons were proving devastatingly effective. "Their formation is breaking down," Wang reported, excitement creeping into her professional tone. "The radiation fields are disrupting their ability to coordinate with each other." Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she studied her readings. "Admiral, I'm detecting a change in their energy patterns. They're trying to adapt to our attacks, but the process is causing them to destabilize." Rodriguez saw the opportunity. "All ships, concentrate fire on the largest concentration. Let's show them what happens when they threaten those under our protection." The combined fleet moved as one, human and collective ships working in perfect harmony. Quantum torpedoes and radiation beams struck from multiple angles, creating a web of Earth-normal space that trapped and corroded the Void Hunters' energy forms. For the first time in their ancient existence, the hunters became the hunted. As the last Void Hunter dissipated into harmless radiation, a cheer went up through the fleet. But Rodriguez and Chen exchanged knowing looks. This was just one battle, one group of Void Hunters. There would be more coming. But now they had proof. Humanity's curse of evolving on a death world had become the galaxy's salvation. The real work was just beginning. They had the weapons, the shields, and most importantly, the knowledge that the Void Hunters could be beaten. Now they needed to prepare the entire galaxy for the battles to come. In the aftermath of the battle, the combined fleet regrouped at the collective's primary research station. The victory had bought them time, but Dr. Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. She stood in the hybrid laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle data, when she noticed an anomaly in the readings. "Admiral, I need you to see this," she called over the quantum comm. When Rodriguez arrived, accompanied by Administrator Xylos, she had already compiled her findings. "Look at these energy patterns from the Void Hunters. They're not random. There's a structure to them that seems familiar." Rodriguez studied the complex web of energy signatures. Familiar how? They matched the quantum signature of the galaxy's background radiation. Chen explained, her voice growing excited. "But not just any radiation, specifically the kind we find in areas of space where stars are being born." Xylos moved closer, their exoskeleton wearing. "What are you suggesting, Dr. Chen?" "I think we've been looking at this all wrong. We assumed the Void Hunters were invaders, some ancient species that evolved to consume matter. But what if they're not invaders at all? What if they're part of the galaxy's natural cycle?" The implication slowly dawned on Rodriguez, like antibodies in a living organism. "Exactly." Chen manipulated the holographic display, showing the path of Void Hunter attacks overlaid with stellar formation maps. "Look at the pattern. They're not random attacks. They're following the galaxy's natural energy flows, just like white blood cells follow the bloodstream." Xylos's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Are you suggesting that the galaxy itself is alive?" "Not alive in the way we think of it," Chen clarified. "But there's definitely a pattern here. The Void Hunters appear in regions where the natural flow of stellar formation has been disrupted. Every system they've attacked has had significant artificial manipulation of quantum fields, the same kind the Collective uses for their most advanced technology. Rodriguez frowned. You're saying our use of quantum technology is triggering some kind of immune response from the galaxy itself? Not exactly. I think the Void Hunters are more like maintenance drones, programmed to maintain the galaxy's natural energy balance. Our quantum technology disrupts that balance, so they respond by breaking down the disrupting elements. The revelation hit Xylos hard. Our entire civilization is built on quantum manipulation. Are you saying we need to abandon our technology to survive? No, Chen said firmly. We need to adapt it. Look at what happened during the battle. Our hybrid technology didn't just fight the Void Hunters. It temporarily stabilized the quantum fluctuations in that region of space. We weren't just winning a battle. We were accidentally fixing the very problem that drew them there. Rodriguez paced the lab, his mind racing with the implications. So instead of trying to destroy them, we need to work with them. Guide them. Better than that, Chen said, pulling up the designs for their hybrid systems. We can modify our technology to work in harmony with the galaxy's natural energy flows. The Void Hunters aren't our enemy. They're a tool we can learn from. Humanity's experience with harsh radiation gave us the ability to see what the Collective couldn't. Sometimes what looks like destruction is actually part of a larger balance. The next few days saw a flurry of activity as human and collective scientists worked to modify their hybrid technology. Instead of purely defensive shields, they developed systems that could detect and correct quantum imbalances. The massive fleet that had been gathered for war was gradually transformed into something else, a force for restoration and balance. But the greatest challenge lay ahead. The Void Hunters were still active, and larger concentrations were being detected on the edges of collective space. They needed to prove their theory on a massive scale, and quickly. The modified fleet would have to demonstrate that they could work with the galaxy's natural processes instead of against them. It's ironic, Rodriguez mused as they prepared for their next encounter. Humanity spent centuries thinking we were cursed to live on a harsh world. Then we thought our adaptation to that harshness would let us win a war. But in the end, our real advantage was being able to see the harmony in what others saw as hostile. Chen nodded, watching as the fleet's new quantum harmonizers came online. The real question is, are we ready to help reshape an entire civilization's relationship with the galaxy itself? The answer would come sooner than they expected. Long-range sensors detected the largest concentration of Void Hunters ever observed, heading straight for the Collective's most populated sector. This time, they wouldn't meet them with weapons of war, but with understanding born from humanity's unique perspective. The true test was about to begin. The massive swarm of Void Hunters filled the long-range sensors with a storm of energy signatures as they approached the Collective's core worlds. But this time, the combined fleet waited with a different kind of anticipation. The modified ships hummed with their new quantum harmonizers, their Earth-normal radiation fields carefully calibrated to work with, rather than against, the galaxy's natural energy flows. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the Prometheus's bridge, watching as Dr. Chen made final adjustments to the fleet-wide harmonizer network. All ships report ready, he announced. Though I have to admit, trying to communicate with something we spent months fighting, it goes against every military instinct I have. Sometimes the hardest part of understanding isn't learning something new, Chen replied, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. It's unlearning what we thought we knew. She looked up at the main view screen, where the Void Hunters were now visible to the naked eye, their energy forms rippling like aurora across the void. We're about to rewrite the relationship between intelligent life and the galaxy itself. Administrator Xylos's voice came through the quantum comm, their musical language tinged with nervous energy. The evacuation of the core worlds is only 30% complete. If this doesn't work, it will work, Chen assured them. Because for the first time, we're not trying to impose our will on the galaxy. We're working with its natural processes, just as humanity learned to work with Earth's harsh conditions rather than trying to completely overcome them. The harmonizer network activated, creating a web of quantum-stabilized space that extended for light years. Instead of blocking the void hunters, it created channels that would guide them along the galaxy's natural energy flows. It was like building canals to direct a river rather than trying to dam it completely. The void hunters reached the edge of the harmonizer field. For a moment that felt like eternity, they paused, their energy patterns shifting as they encountered something entirely new. Then, slowly at first, but with increasing confidence, they began to flow through the channels created by the fleet's technology. Energy patterns are stabilizing, Chen reported, her voice tight with concentration. The quantum fluctuations are evening out. It's working. Across the fleet, human and collective crews watched in awe as the void hunters, those ancient maintainers of galactic balance, began working in concert with their technology. Where before they had broken down matter indiscriminately, now they were precisely targeting areas of quantum instability, actually helping to restore balance to regions damaged by unrestricted quantum manipulation. "Look at these readings," one of the collective scientists exclaimed. "The void hunters aren't just accepting our guidance, they're amplifying the harmonizer effect. They're helping us repair the damage we didn't even know we were causing." Rodriguez smiled, remembering all the times in human history when apparent adversaries had become allies once understanding was achieved. "Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the one that destroys your enemy," he mused. "It's the one that turns them into a friend." Over the next few weeks, the combined fleet worked with the void hunters to establish permanent harmonizer networks throughout collective space. The ancient entities, once seen as harbingers of doom, became essential partners in maintaining the galaxy's quantum stability. The collective began the massive task of retrofitting their civilization's technology to work in harmony with these natural processes. "You know what the real irony is," Chen said to Rodriguez as they watched a group of void hunters actually helping to power a modified collective city. "We couldn't have discovered this if we hadn't evolved on Earth. Living in what others considered impossible conditions gave us the perspective to see that what looks like hostility might just be part of a larger balance." The impact of their discovery spread far beyond the immediate crisis. Other spacefaring civilizations, learning of the collective's transformation, began seeking humanity's help in adapting their own technology. Earth, once considered a death world that could spawn only savages, became known as the birthplace of a species that could bridge the gap between artificial technology and natural cosmic processes. "We called ourselves Deathworlders," Rodriguez reflected, standing with Chen and Silos on the observation deck of the New Harmony station. Below them, void hunters wove through quantum stabilization fields like fish in a coral reef, maintaining the complex dance of energy that kept the galaxy healthy. But maybe we were lifeworlders all along. We just needed to learn that life takes many forms, and strength isn't always about domination. Xylos, who no longer needed an exoskeleton thanks to new gravity manipulation technology that worked with natural forces rather than against them, gestured at the spectacular view. "Your species taught us that adaptation is not just about surviving hostile conditions. It's about learning to see the harmony in what appears hostile." Chen smiled as she watched a new ship class emerge from the nearby shipyard, a design that perfectly merged human resilience, collective quantum mastery, and the galaxy's natural energy flows. That's the real lesson, isn't it? The universe isn't divided into safe spaces and death worlds. It's all one system, and true intelligence means learning to be part of that system rather than trying to stand apart from it. As if in response, the void hunters created a spectacular display of quantum energy, transforming what had once been a signal of terror into a celebration of harmony between the artificial and the natural, the evolved and the ancient, the planned and the spontaneous. Humanity had not just saved civilization. They had helped it take its next evolutionary step. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be.